In the 17th century, amidst the rule of King Louis XIV, Paris found itself in a state of chaos. The majority of the population is either starving or sent off to war, leading to widespread unrest and rioting throughout the city. Rather than addressing the demands of the people, the king chooses to lock the rioters in crumbling prisons, subjecting them to a slow and agonizing demise. Among the imprisoned is an enigmatic figure known as the Man in the Iron Mask. In the following scene, D'Artagnan, the leader of the Royal Musketeers, patrols the city on horseback. Unfortunately, he becomes the target of thrown rocks, as his allegiance to the king makes him unpopular among the enraged citizens. Once, there were 4 revered musketeers, but now, only D'Artagnan remains loyal to the crown. The other 3, Aramis, now a reverend, Porthos, a womanizing drunkard, and Athos, who has retired to his farm, have diverged from their former camaraderie. Living together, Porthos and Aramis frequently clash due to their disparate lifestyles. One day, amid their quarrel, D'Artagnan visits them, revealing that the king wishes to summon them. In a poignant moment, Athos entrusts his son, Raoul, with his late wife's ring, urging him to propose to his girlfriend. It becomes apparent that Athos's wife passed away long ago, and his son aspires to follow in his footsteps and become a musketeer. The story then transitions to the opulent royal palace, where the king engages in a strategic briefing with his generals regarding an impending war. Amid this discussion, Pierre, one of the king's advisors, informs him of the ongoing riots in the city. Proposing a solution to quell the unrest, Pierre suggests distributing food from the army reserves. However, King Louis, displaying a callous stance, countermands this suggestion and orders the distribution of rotten provisions instead. Meanwhile, Aramis arrives at the palace and is warmly welcomed by the king. In a surprising turn, Louis assigns Aramis a covert mission: to locate and apprehend the leader of the Jesuits, who is inciting civil unrest. Additionally, the king charges the former musketeer with the divine duty of eliminating a perceived traitor in the name of God and France. Though hesitant, Aramis finds himself compelled to agree with the monarch's orders. Simultaneously, within the palace walls, a special occasion is underway, attracting a diverse crowd. Among the attendees, Raoul and his girlfriend Christine stand together. As they stroll through the gathering, the king, smitten by Christine, orchestrates a diversionary game that separates Raoul from his beloved. Seizing the opportunity, the king attempts to draw Christine closer to him, expressing romantic interest. Despite the king's advances, Christine staunchly asserts her loyalty to Raoul. The tension escalates when the king endeavors to kiss her, only to be interrupted by the vigilant D'Artagnan, who has been discreetly observing the scene from nearby. In an unexpected turn of events, a Jesuit spy makes a desperate attempt to assassinate King Louis. However, D'Artagnan skillfully eliminates the threat with a remarkable sword throw, leaving the monarch visibly shaken. Seizing the moment, Raoul swiftly whisks Christine away from the chaotic scene. That night, D'Artagnan, puzzled by Raoul's sudden withdrawal from the Royal Musketeer selection, seeks answers from Athos, who is equally unaware of the situation. Their confusion deepens when a dejected Raoul arrives, revealing that he couldn't propose to Christine and has been conscripted for war against the Dutch. Athos is enraged, suspecting the king of manipulating the situation to separate Raoul from Christine. D'Artagnan empathizes with Raoul's plight and promises Athos that he will confront the king. In the next scene, a horde of rioters attacks the palace, incensed by the distribution of rotten food. As the musketeers prepare to intervene, D'Artagnan steps forward, preventing them from using force. Facing the angry mob alone, he showcases his swordsmanship, earning their trust. D'Artagnan pledges to provide them with fresh food, and in response, the rioters disperse peacefully. Later, in a covert passage within the palace, D'Artagnan informs the king that fresh provisions must be delivered to appease the mob. Seeking clarity about the king's intentions with Christine, D'Artagnan is met with defiance. Louis asserts his authority, claiming the freedom to act as he pleases, given his royal status. In a distant location, Raoul and his troops prepare for an invasion into enemy territory. Before advancing, Raoul hands a letter to another general, requesting its delivery to the royal palace. Leading the charge, tragedy strikes when a Dutch cannon explodes near Raoul, claiming his life instantly. The devastating news quickly reaches Christine and Athos, leaving them shattered with grief. Athos, consumed by a thirst for vengeance, heads to the palace to confront the king. Upon reaching the palace, Athos unleashes his fury, taking down several musketeers single-handedly. D'Artagnan intervenes, subduing his friend and pleading with him to avoid a similar fate as Raoul. Athos reluctantly agrees to walk away, vowing revenge against the king. Before departing, he bitterly labels D'Artagnan a traitor for protecting the one responsible for his son's death. Inside the palace, King Louis orchestrates a lavish dinner for Christine, who struggles to find solace in the midst of mourning Raoul. Despite her grief, Louis reassures her that he desires only her happiness. Leading her to a private room, the king attempts to comfort Christine, and the two engage in a passionate moment. Meanwhile, Aramis gathers his former musketeer comrades in the catacombs of Paris, unveiling a secret mission assigned by King Louis. Aramis discloses that he has been tasked with tracking down and eliminating the Jesuit leader, who is inciting riots in the city. A shocking revelation unfolds as Aramis discloses to his friends that he is, in fact, the Jesuit leader. The revelation stuns Athos and Porthos, who surprisingly lend their support to Aramis's clandestine plans. However, D'Artagnan, steadfast in his loyalty to the king, refuses to join them. Athos, fueled by anger, confronts D'Artagnan, warning him that if their paths cross again, he won't hesitate to kill. In the subsequent scene, the setting shifts to the Bastille prison, where the man in the iron mask ponders his fate while peeking at the open sky. The three musketeer friends arrive in disguise, with Aramis posing as a priest. Successfully infiltrating the prisoner's cell, Aramis reads the monthly prayers, revealing a shocking twist. He conceals a corpse wearing an identical iron mask. Claiming that the prisoner succumbed to a fictional plague virus, Aramis tricks the guards into burning the corpse, leaving no evidence behind. The group skillfully escapes the prison, reaching a countryside house where they unveil the truth about the man in the iron mask. In a surprising turn, he is revealed to be King Louis's twin brother, Philippe. Philippe recounts a peaceful life on a farm until soldiers forcibly took him away and imprisoned him, concealing his identity behind the iron mask. In a moment of revelation, Aramis finally discloses the truth to Philippe. It unfolds that after the birth of the twins, Anne, their mother, gave birth to the twins Philippe and Louis XIII. The decision to avoid territorial conflicts between them led to Philippe being discarded and hidden away in the Bastille prison. The shocking revelation continued as, on his deathbed, King Louis XIII confided in Anne and Louis XIV about Philippe's existence, desperately trying to bring him back. However, the greedy Louis XIV, ensuring his twin brother would remain hidden forever, concealed Philippe's face with an iron mask. To add to the tragedy, Aramis reveals that he was the one who placed the mask on Philippe. Aramis, expressing remorse for the atrocities Philippe endured, vows to restore his birthright by replacing him with King Louis. However, their friends express skepticism, deeming the plan too perilous. Meanwhile, back in the palace, King Louis receives a message about Philippe's death but remains indifferent. Opening another box, he discovers the iron mask, leaving him taken aback. Simultaneously, Anne, upon hearing the news of her son's death, breaks down in tears. D'Artagnan approaches and offers solace, revealing a previously hidden romantic affair between them before D'Artagnan chooses loyalty to the king. In the tranquil countryside, the three musketeers persistently try to persuade Philippe to join their audacious plan, but he initially refuses, desiring a life of freedom without pretense. The turning point comes when they share their dream of a unified France where all citizens can live in peace. Moved by this vision, Philippe agrees to participate. The trio begins an intensive training regimen, teaching Philippe the art of royal demeanor day and night. Meanwhile, within the palace, Christine begins to adapt to the regal surroundings. However, her world shatters when she receives a letter from Raoul, predicting his demise and expressing forgiveness for her connection with the king. The letter unveils a heartbreaking truth: the king orchestrated Raoul's death. In a confessional meeting, Aramis reveals Philippe's existence to Anne. The royal palace then hosts a grand masquerade ball, where nobles dance elegantly in elaborate costumes. Aramis, Athos, Porthos, and Philippe, all in disguise, join the festivities. When the king, caught in a swirl of masked dancers, starts seeing figures with iron masks, he becomes disoriented. It turns out that the musketeers orchestrated this illusion. Seizing the opportunity during the masquerade, the group, still in disguise, sneaks into the king's room through a secret entrance. Aramis confronts the king and, in a decisive move, renders him unconscious. When the king regains consciousness, he is astounded to find his brother Philippe, dressed like the king. As the unconscious King Louis lies gagged and covered by Porthos, Philippe nervously exits the room to face the crowd. Seating himself on the throne for the first time, he is confronted by Christine, who accuses him of being a killer. Instead of reacting with aggression, Philippe surprises everyone by calming her down and promising to set things right. The unexpected turn of events raises suspicions, and even D'Artagnan begins to question Philippe. Philippe orders the guards to be on high alert and escorts him to the underground dock. The three musketeers, along with Philippe, make their way to the port where their escape boat awaits. However, they are spotted by guards, leading to a lengthy and intense confrontation. Despite being outnumbered, the musketeers showcase exemplary fighting skills, holding their own against the guards. As they are about to escape, the door unexpectedly closes, trapping them. Caught by D'Artagnan and his guards, an intense face-off ensues. Just as the situation reaches a boiling point, Athos unveils King Louis's face and threatens to kill him. D'Artagnan, shocked by the revelation, orders his guards to open the gate. In a tense exchange, the two groups trade the boys. However, just as the musketeers are about to depart with Philippe, the guards recapture him, forcing Athos, Porthos, and Aramis to flee alone. Inside the palace, King Louis glares at Philippe in anger and reveals to D'Artagnan that the boy is not an impostor but his brother. D'Artagnan is taken aback upon learning that Philippe is King Louis's brother. Anne enters the room, and both she and D'Artagnan plead with the greedy king to pardon Philippe. Unmoved, King Louis orders his men to throw Philippe back into the same prison with the iron mask over his face. Later, as D'Artagnan attempts to console Anne, he hears a scream from another room. Rushing in, he discovers that Christine has taken her own life. D'Artagnan is devastated, but Louis remains indifferent to the tragedy. Meanwhile, Philippe is once again fitted with the iron mask, and the special key is handed over to King Louis. The three musketeers manage to evade the guards, finding a note left by D'Artagnan. It reveals a 10-minute window arranged by him to save Philippe. Initially skeptical, the trio ultimately trusts their old friend and dons their famous musketeer costumes, heading to the designated location to rescue Philippe. In the following scene, the trio meets D'Artagnan at a prison, and together they locate Philippe. As they attempt to escape, Louis and his men block all exits. Left with no way out, the four musketeers summon the spirit of their old camaraderie and engage in a fierce battle against Louis's soldiers. Despite being outnumbered, they showcase their impressive skills, subduing the opposition in a daring last stand for justice and redemption. As more men arrive, the musketeers, along with Philippe, are forced to escape to another room. Philippe, overwhelmed by guilt, requests that they give him up to spare themselves. However, D'Artagnan reveals a shocking truth. Both Louis and Philippe were born to him and Anne during their affair. Facing a standoff, Louis demands the musketeers surrender, but they respond with tremendous courage, charging at the opposition. Even Louis's guards are left in awe of their valor, holding back their weapons in respect. Enraged, Louis swings a dagger at Philippe, but D'Artagnan intervenes, taking the fatal blow. He passes away among his friends, sons, and army generals. Devastated, Philippe swaps clothes with his brother, placing him in an iron mask. He orders the guards to take away the impostor and announces that Aramis, Athos, and Porthos are his new royal advisors. In the final scene, King Philippe, disguised as King Louis XIV, along with the three musketeers, attends D'Artagnan's funeral. Philippe approaches Athos and expresses his desire to be his son, a request gladly accepted. The movie concludes by revealing that, after Philippe took over, France became a prosperous and powerful nation,